Drops Nation, Kevin here. I'm with Robin Tuck today from Rosemark. And you might think, because you know what Rosemark is, we're going to talk about scheduling software, but that's not the case. We're actually going to be talking about something that really impacts every business, not just home care industries, but it's the company culture. I know Robin and Rosemark have been in the home care business for quite some time. Robin, if you can give me a little bit of background about you, the time you spent with Rosemark, how long Rosemark's been around, just really briefly, and then we'll get into this culture topic.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. So I've actually been in the home care industry for about 10 years now, which seems a little wild. I started with Rosemark as a customer support person. So I was answering calls about the software. And then I've just sort of worked my way up into the product owner role, which I really love because I get to talk to customers and potential customers and just learn what the pain points are right now in the industry and hopefully make software to help alleviate them.
That's
And
awesome.
and Rosemark's been in the industry for about 30 years, for a long time. And, we just continue to grow and try to partner with all of our customers and potential customers in this sphere. I think it's a really important and changing industry right now, especially.
Perfect. All right. So I know we could talk about culture for a long time. Like, I know you and I have had a couple conversations. It took us a minute even to get into this started today when we got going, just because of some culture conversations we had before recording. But before we do get going in the topic, let's try and get everyone on the same page here, because there's a lot of different ideas of what culture is. It seems to be kind of a key word, a key phrase that people hone in on, but do they really understand it? So if you could define culture as we're going to be discussing it here today.
Sure. How I think about culture and how we think about culture at Rosemark is kind of the day-to-day feeling of the work that you're doing. So when you come into your office in the morning, or even you log on and you start having video calls with people like we are now, what's the mood of that environment? Are you meeting coworkers at the water cooler and catching up about the weekend? Is it a little more quiet? Is it a little more reserved? What's important in the day-to-day? And if a crisis comes up, maybe a family crisis, is that something that gets prioritized for the employees, or is it more about really showing up for work and really focusing on the job at hand, and personal life stuff is going to be for after work? That all of those little pieces fit into what is the culture of a company, and it's going to differ pretty wildly between agencies and even between businesses. So when I talk about culture, that's what I mean.
Perfect. And a lot of that is going to start really from how the company owner or owners decide that brand essence, that brand personality is going to be. So when they look at expanding and bringing on employees, and they look at just that diversification that's naturally going to happen, how do they, in their community with these caregivers, how do they actually embrace that culture and display that culture? I talk about it as a brand voice and the brand being out there, but how do they integrate it, but then how do they live it externally, out loud, so to speak?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I think a lot of businesses have a tendency to get some values and they put them on maybe a board that's hanging up in their office. And it's just something that they reference maybe in sales conversations or just when they're talking in general, but it's not something that they really embody. So I think for a lot of people, I think the first step needs to be what's important to you, especially as an owner or a person starting a business. What really led you to want to do this? And is it about integrity? Is it about people first? Do you care about people and that's why you're in this business? And then how do you use that as a stepping stone to show people that value? I think what's really important about culture is the action of it. It's not just talking about it. It's how do you show through what you do day to day or even week to week what it means to be part of that culture. I think a really good example is one of our agencies. She used to have Happy Payday Day, where she encouraged all of her employees, every single one of them, to come into the office, and she would personally bake cakes and cookies and various chilies and cool stuff to share with everyone, bring in their family, and really just celebrate the hard work that they had done the last couple of weeks. It was really something that she wanted to make special and to show people how valued they were for the work that they were doing. And that, I think, is the way that you bring your culture to life. You show what you mean when you put those values on the wall.
That's awesome. I've actually been with companies. I work from home now and work remote, so I don't have that office dynamic anymore. But companies I worked with before, we had a Friday where there were snacks. People kind of did a potluck, and the lunch was a little bit extra long for everyone just to talk to each other and basically get to know each other rather than just talk shop, right?
Yep.
So it was a great welcome thing there for us to really work on relationships with each other as well too. So
Yeah,
Awesome. And this is an industry with a lot of relationship.
yes.
You talk about all the time, and that relationship might get pretty isolated between a caregiver and a client. So how do you get that to come back to the team and have that culture lived a little more broadly within the company? So that's awesome.
Exactly. And like, how do you bring that community into your office? And if you are working remotely, like I am too, how do you make sure that everyone still feels connected and still feels part of a team in a way that they can really rely on? They can say, yeah, I'm definitely part of this team. I know that they're here for me and that I'm here for them.
So a thought I had just now, we didn't even talk about this, so I apologize for throwing this at you.
Of course.
Um, the home care industry talks about turnover all the time. They talk about finding people and the frustrations of finding people all the time.
Mhm.
However, I've noticed that businesses who have a better framework for operations, have a better process for hiring, for eliminating the wrong fits, as we call it at home care ops, and focusing on the right fits, they
Mhm.
actually have better turnover results. So, what kind of systems and frameworks are out there that home care owners can look to that might help them get down to eliminating all the potential issues and headaches from wrong hires,
Mhm.
right? And not go after that desperation hire to get to that right person, put them in the right seat. Which systems do you recommend?
That's a great question. We personally use something called EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and we've been using it for about 10 years, I think. And it gives a really great framework for not only defining your values, to understanding your culture, and even your aspirational culture. What do you want your culture to be? But how do you have great meetings that are actually going to move things forward? How do you use data, like the key pieces of data that's really going to push your business forward, and especially that right fit? And they have something called the People Analyzer that helps you lay out your values and determine if someone is fitting or maybe not fitting with those values. And an interesting thing that I really like about EOS is this idea that someone could be a great value fit for your company. They match up on all those value points. They're people first, they're collaborative, they're all about teamwork. But maybe the role they're in is not working for them and not working for the company. And so one of the things they talk about is finding that role fit if they're a value fit, because the value fit is the most important. So maybe you have someone on your team that you really like them, they fit in with everyone well, you know that they're going to do a good job, but the role that they're in right now is just not working. Maybe you need to move them. Maybe they shouldn't be a field staff. Maybe they need to be working in the office, talking to family. Those are the kinds of things you need to look at where maybe it's not exactly perfect, but if you can find that value fit, you're going to have a much better time. And your turnover is likely to be less because those people feel valued, they mesh with your team. That's, I think, a really important thing to look at. And that's why EOS really helps with that. There's books, I think they even have like a comic book that talks about EOS.
I've not read that one yet. I've read the other ones,
pretty
not that one.
good. And so it can really help you get into it without feeling like, oh gosh, another business book, it's very accessible. So I highly recommend EOS.
Yeah, I've worked with a couple companies that have EOS integrated. It's quite a difference. I love the People Analyzer, not just because it's going to be a hard line of hire fire. It definitely helps in the beginning when you're evaluating staff, but creating development opportunities for individuals where maybe you bring them in, you put them somewhere, knowing that eventually you got to find something else for them. And maybe it's a scaling thing where you add a position to be able to help that person find a good role in the company. But that People Evaluator goes pretty deep in understanding where they can fit in the company, where they can serve the company, and how they can best develop as a person, as an individual within that role, within the company. Excuse me.
Yeah,
So
and I think
that's a
that's a great point. Yeah, about the personal development too, because it really encourages people to look to how they can grow into maybe a different role, maybe a different responsibility in the company. And I think that's also something that helps individual agencies. If your employees and especially your caregivers feel like there's a ladder, there's a place for them to grow into, then they're more likely to stay.
All right, so let me ask you more of a technical EOS question. Get it, want it, capacity. Which one's the most important?
Ooh, I think it's the want it, to be honest with you. People can understand their job, they can know how to do their job, but if they don't want to, if it doesn't appeal to them, it doesn't speak to them anymore, then you're going to have a lot of trouble. They're going to have trouble. They're going to have lack of enthusiasm, honestly. And I think the rest of the things are going to suffer. So the want it to me is really key. You can train.
Yeah, just to explain to the audience, get it means they get the position, they understand it, right? What the role want it means they really have a desire. They have that drive, that grit, as some people refer it to,
Great. Yeah.
put into that position. And then, of course, the capability side of it, in capacity side of it, is more of it could be a skills thing. It could be also a time thing, right?
Yeah.
Some people are a little bit stretched, so their capacity is more of a process issue than a people issue. So that's another great thing about EOS is you're not just looking at the person, you're looking at company processes too. Is there something you as an owner can do to improve their situation, or are you just gonna keep dumping on them because you feel overwhelmed as an owner yourself, right? So
Yeah. No, it's about examining the whole thing top to bottom and seeing, can I support my employees in a different or a better way to help them be more successful? It's not, pointing fingers that, oh, you're just not a good employee. It's really critically looking at why are they not being successful and what can we change to make that, a success, really.
awesome. So again, we were talking about culture. You guys are scheduling software, and something a lot of home care owners are still trying to come to grasp with, and we get questions all the time about technology, is how does technology help them? So coming from your side, choosing this topic here to help home care owners with culture discussion, how does a scheduling software help with culture? How does it give the owner what they need more of, or to develop people in or evaluate them? Like, how does this fit in with scheduling software?
I think the most important part of this is spending your time in a place that is going to benefit your business, right? Like, you don't need to be the person who is like putting things into spreadsheets and making sure that, oh, did this person clock in? Oh, they did. Everything's good. Great. The software is there to automate the processes that don't need a person. It doesn't need a human to look at that and say, is this good or is it bad? If we can automate things and automate workflows for agency owners, especially, that frees up their time to do the human part of home care, right? They're networking, they're connecting to caregivers, they're connecting to potential clients, they're looking critically at their processes, they're looking at their data. And that's another place that software can help. We can provide the data to show you patterns and changes in your business so that you can make those critical choices that's going to lead to growth or lead to improvements in things that you care about. And that's really what software is there to do. It's not a 100% solution. At best, it's an 80% solution, but that 80% should be the 80% that you as an agency owner don't need to be doing. A human doesn't need to be doing that stuff. Let the software handle the automation, and then you can handle the human side.
Certainly takes the guesswork out of it too. When you're doing the people analyzer and you're not sure about capabilities, capacity, scheduling software or other stuff should be able to help you really understand where you're at if you're looking at the right metrics.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in scheduling software, not just Rosemark, that underutilize their scheduling software, surprisingly.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to conferences where they're talking to their vendor. Oh, yeah, we already use you. And then they walk away realizing that they've not even touched or scratched 5 features that could just take their business up to the next level. So certainly a lot of things there. And that most of that is just helping everyone, right? One big thing in culture, this is already complicated enough as it is as an industry. And so the more you can simplify the role of the people involved in scheduling, whether it's the caregiver, the client, or the scheduler at the office, or management that has to look over everything, make sure everything's going good, the smoother that process is, the less internal strife there's going to be in that culture as well. So
that's exactly right.
Relief.
Yeah. And like, if you can take away the stress from people's day to day, they're going to be able to show up the best version of themselves. And you want your employees to be excited to go to work, to be excited to meet with, their team, to meet with new customers, with new caregivers, and really put their best foot forward. And if they're stressed out because they're having to double check things, or they're having to manually input stuff in various places, maybe multiple times, that's not an environment that's making them successful. So anything you can do to take away that level of complication in their lives is going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah, one thing I talk to a lot of home care owners about too is documentation. So the more you can document in a case with a client that the caregiver can have logged and registered, the more you have a full picture. And again, you're not just going off of a gut feeling on something. You're able to really see what's happening and really understand the situation and really get down to, again, is this people or process? Is there something else can be fixed? Is this the caregiver or is this the client that's the issue, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the caregiver is great. The client is just not going to get along with many people. And so you got to kind of look at that a little bit deeper too. And so the types of notes you put into scheduling software, really anything that you use, the more you can put in that's good quality, the better the output will be. Right? It's either garbage in and garbage out, or it's good stuff in and better stuff out when it comes to using technology. So
you're talking right to my heart right now. Good data in is such a keystone of everything, because the software is only as good as the data. And if you can be putting in clean, good, consistent data about everything in your business, you're going to get so much out of it. Like, you're going to get just more than you ever thought possible, because you can pull on all of these threads in your business and realize, like, oh yeah, that client doesn't get along with this specific caregiver, but actually they seem to respond really well to this other caregiver, and I'll just, rearrange the schedule, and now everybody's happier. And so those are the kind of little things that the more data you have, the more threads you can pull on, the more opportunity you have to make these little changes that might not seem big at the time, but could really have a big impact on your business.
Whoever's in charge of that data must be a really important position to hire correctly, right?
Oh, yeah. For
Awesome.
sure.
All right, Robin, any final thoughts on culture? Just kind of a wrap up on, how you've seen culture make or break home care success, and why it was a topic that you felt so passionate about discussing here today.
Yeah, I think, understanding company culture with the EOS framework is something that has really helped us understand our customers and how individual agencies are successful and how they can change the world around them, to be honest. And that's allowed us to be better partners with our customers. So we just hope to, continue to grow our culture and hopefully help people take away that frustration that they're dealing with so they can improve their culture.
All right, not to go full commercial mode here, but Robin, if someone has some questions, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you and ask about Rosemark, or even just general questions about software that can help them in culture?
Of course, yeah. I would love to have people reach out to me particularly. My name is Robin, as you already know, and it's at Shoshana.com. So that's SHOSHANA.com. And you can always go to our website, that's rosemarksystem.com. And we have a contact form. We have a lot of great information on there, but we're always happy to have conversations with anyone that's interested in just learning more about culture or software.
Perfect. I'll put those contact details down in the description for this video when it goes up. Watch for other content. I know Rosemark occasionally submits stuff for us to publish on our website. We submit to them occasionally. They're a great resource partner that we work with and have worked with for quite some time. Again, culture is a huge thing. Hopefully you gained something from this quick conversation here today and have some takeaways that you can return back to your company, your leadership with, and start putting into place, start trying to figure out. What's that book from EOS? I've got it right here. Which one's your favorite?
The Traction Organizer, I think. What is it called?
You got Traction, and then there's another one, How to Be a Great Boss. Those are two I've got sitting right here on my shelf.
Is a good one. Yeah.
I think as an owner, How to Be a Great Boss might be a great one to start with first. Traction, something when you feel like you got your team kind of coming together and you want them to start to understand, if you're looking at EOS as an option, definitely something to look at there. And I know there's a lot of home care agencies that have worked on EOS and use home care ops as a coach, and they are doing some phenomenal things. So it's a great complement to what we do. And I know there's some amazing EOS facilitators out there. So if you have some questions on that, certainly reach out, dig. I know Robin probably knows a really great facilitator that can get you going. So contact details in there. Watch for more content through our website and through Rosemark's website from us on culture and many other things to help home care owners take things to that next level of success. Have a great day. Appreciate you guys listening.